got everything for you, sir, Jacob?
I think.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. There'd be a motion for the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This time, if everybody please rise and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, public comments. Anybody wish to speak? Yes, just step up to the microphone, and if you want to let us know who you are.
Yeah, wow, this is hot. And you guys will play me off when my 5 minutes is done? Is that how it works?
Yes.
All right, my name is Lisa Lawrence, and I first want to say I'm not here representing my family, not representing my dad, and I'm not representing my brother because they live in town. But I am here representing some friends that live out in the country on the wind issue, friends that feel like they've been bullied, friends that have had people come to their property and people have tried to coerce them through coming to their property, people that have through Facebook messages on their own posts or through private messages or through KMA comments have made them feel bullied for wanting to sign on to the wind project. Some things I've noticed in the last year when I've been messaging back and forth with people and also watching this all unfold and watching your meetings, I've noticed a lot of out of context Bible verses, which should have nothing to do with this because there weren't wind turbines during the writing of the Bible. Not a lot of non-peer reviewed, again, I'll say non-peer reviewed scientific evidence pertaining to how it affects kids who are on the spectrum. There is information out there in peer reviewed scientific journals that says the opposite of what's been presented by some people. And then I specifically want to address tonight some things I found about recycling blades, because that's another issue that's come up, is that these wind turbine blades can't be recycled, and that's honestly changing. So let me read you a few things. Sorry, I had to go home and make dad dinner tonight. I didn't have time to change into my contacts, so I have to get this kind of close. All right, so bear with me for probably about 3 minutes. In terms of durability, wind turbines last an average of about 25 years. About 85% of the component materials, such as the steel, copper wire, electronics, and gearing, can be recycled or reused. But the blades are viewed as different because they're made of fiberglass, and they're made that way to be lightweight for efficiency and yet durable enough to withstand storms. So the good news is some of the efforts are being developed and they're already underway. Two large utilities in the United States, Pacific Corp and Mid-American Energy, for example, have recently announced plans to partner with the Tennessee company Carbon Rivers to recycle some of the utilities' spent turbine blades instead of landfilling them. And this is being supported through grant funding by the United States Department of Energy. And it can be used to help break down and reuse the fiberglass. While the composite nature of fiberglass turbine blades makes them notoriously difficult to deal with at the end of use stage, it's also sparked creativity and innovation, which is one thing that we like to do in the United States. We like to have people be innovative. For example, a partnership involving the United States, Ireland, and Northern Ireland called ReWind developed some interesting civil engineering, I just clicked out of it. Some interesting civil engineering project ideas for reusing and repurposing fiberglass blades. This includes using decommissioned blades in civil engineering projects as part of power line structures or towers or roofs for emergency or affordable housing. In Northern Ireland, ReWind is also considered piloting them for use in pedestrian bridges along greenways. In Europe, they're looking at estimating about 14,000 wind turbine blades that are going to be decommissioned over the next few years, just in Europe alone. So here's some other innovations that are starting to happen. One example comes from Germany, where the concept of recycling turbine blades into cement was first developed about a decade ago. The process promises 100% recycling and reductions in carbon dioxide emissions from cement co-processing through replacing the production of cement raw materials with the recycled blades, plus the use of biogas from organic remnants in place of coal as a fuel. Another creative recycling option produces pellets or boards that can be used in carpentry applications. In 2019, Global Fiberglass Solutions began producing a product called Eco-Poly Pellets in the United States. So we're not talking Germany, we're not talking Europe, we're talking in the US. And they're soon going to be producing a panel version. So right now it's the pellets, soon it will be panels. With this is the part I found really interesting. Pellets can be transformed into a variety of products such as warehouse pallets, flooring material, or parking bollards. Based on its demand forecast, Global Fiberglass Solutions anticipates being able to process 6,000 to 7,000 blades per year at each of its 2 plants. And you want to guess where those plants are? One's in Texas and the other is right here in Iowa. So we have one of those plants. So the other thing that's happening is that they're now looking at making the blades not out of fiberglass, but looking into using a thermoplastic resin or a carbon fiber so that those can be more easily recycled. So one of the things I keep reading in the comments when people address this on KMA, and quite frankly, they don't address it very nicely. And I'm not going to say that those people come from the people that speak here, because they may not, because there's a lot of people that just comment on there without doing their research. But one of the things they keep saying is nobody, there's like 20, 30 people that come and speak against the wind stuff, that come and want to do certain things and are asking the supervisors to vote a certain way. And then when the supervisors don't necessarily vote the way that these 20 or 30 people that are supposed to represent a county that has, Florinda's 5,000 alone, and I don't know what Shan is, and you've got your other little small towns, you've got your farm people, but 20 or 30 people, and I keep seeing the comment, well, where are the people that are in support of it? Where are those people? And again, just so you know, I'm here speaking on behalf of people that feel like they can't come on their own because they feel like they've been bullied. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Anyone else under public comment? Okay, this time, JD, if you'd like to step up, we're ready to tackle several projects within the county.
Good evening, JD King, Page County Engineers. Fine day at Page County. We're toward the end of the day, but hey, the time allowed us to get contract on the agenda where it wasn't, even in the morning, it'd have been more difficult. So in front of you is some papers that were sent, email yesterday afternoon. We're blading. We got some of the districts are blading birch. All rock with 3 trucks yesterday, 4 trucks today. Pipe crew. The pipe crew is prepping for some work on B Avenue, a large pipe down on B in Buchanan Township. The spray pressures are still working on Nyman Road. If we have oil, we had trouble with our oil tank yesterday. And I've got one more. The batwing is mowing on the northern pavements where there's good slopes. Got a couple more down for small things, rear wheel, drag wheel. We got some springs that we're replacing on our full-type trailers. A little, where the side shift has a pin, housing pin fits in, broke, and Jamie was getting that today. Our oil tank shouldn't be down much longer. We do have a valve that broke, and we're going to replace the other valve at the same time. So hopefully that'll be working again. Turning to engineering and construction. The shouldering was complete yesterday on M63 over the Stanton Road. We're still waiting on the patchers to come back to do that. The seal coat work wound up today on south of Shan there. Last week we had done T and Page Center Road, and there was an error made on T Avenue. We extended the seal coat too long on some pavement. Got some criticism for that, actually justly so. Put a second lift on D Avenue yesterday. The first lift was put on Friday. So the board chose to do that back when we did the last program. We replaced the seal coat on D Avenue, so that's done. I've got a bunch more, but the remainder of the stuff is all agenda items. So if you have any questions on the update.
On that T Avenue, they're doing the same thing at East Prairie. Is it coming out better when they start and stop
Yes, we specifically talked about that, and I don't have
near the bump?
near the bumps. Actually, the D Avenue, the superintendent, the contractor said our blade guys had done a very good job on trying to get the washboards out of that just ahead of the prime oil on Thursday afternoon. So then let's move into the agenda items. The first one is talking about a preliminary bridge design for W65, which is in Washington Township in the southwest on C Avenue over the bridges over the West Tarkio River. We had one proposal last week. I was asked to bring another proposal back to the board. I have one from HGM. You have it there. You have both of them, actually, the relevant parts.
Thanks for sending us, those out early too, Jake.
The dollar amount for the Calhoun, Burns and Associates proposal is still $20,130. The preliminary design proposal from HGM, which is out of Council Bluffs, is $21,500. These are pretty, they're not widely disparate, but CB&A is a little cheaper. But we've worked with both consultant firms. I still would recommend, as I did last week, that we signed a preliminary design contract for W65 at Calhoun and Burns.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to take these one at a time?
As far as
With
all,
his recommendation here, do you want
Yes.
to handle that now? I'd make a motion to
yeah, I think,
award the contract to Calhoun, Burns and Associates. I'll second that.
okay. And that was for 21,500, right?
No,
20,130.
20,130.
130 or yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, been a motion and a second award the preliminary design contract for the W65 bridge to Calhoun Burns for $20,130. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you. Here's the signature.
okay. Okay. Next item up is the resolution discuss approve safe streets for all, the SS4A action plan resolution. And JD, you want to talk a little bit about this?
I'll talk a little bit about this. In the new infrastructure bill, there's $1 billion in safety money for the next 5 years. However, to be able to access that money, we have to have an action plan for local road safety. This is things like paved shoulders, rumble strips along the shoulders, rumble strips in the center line. Could be milled in pavement markings, chevrons at the curves. We have some of these features already. Some of these features are not appropriate where we don't have shoulders. I'm not sure I want to grind rumble strips along the edge. My edge is weak anyway, and this will just contribute to it. You know, the state does that on certain primary roads. It's a good feature, but it's not everything is appropriate for our county. But the Iowa County Engineers Association is putting together a grant to do an action plan for all the counties in the state. And then just looking for support from the board of supervisors. I could say this is a corollary to the East and West Nishnabotna watershed management, authority. They have a watershed management plan in place so that if money ever shows up, they have projects to do. That would be the same way for the action plan for Page County. So that's what this resolution is about. It's typical federal stuff.
A lot of people talk about the danger of the dust and some certain intersections we have. It's terrible, rock trucks, different things. There's no way that could be a safety factor.
Well,
It could apply, trying to hard surface some certain intersections, even though they're just.
certainly. I mean, that's certainly within the realm of possibility to control dust.
I don't know. So how do we go forward with trying that? Just have it kind of written down in our.
Well, we get this thing done, we get an action plan, and then see if we can incorporate, dust suppression at high traffic intersections and for.
One of the actions, yeah.
Something like that.
And that's an idea.
Yeah.
We're looking for everything.
When do you anticipate the action plan will be together?
It has to be, the request has to be turned in September, so they're asking for these by mid-August. So they want them out as soon as possible, because we have to write a grant for this.
So you're confident that you're gonna have enough time to?
Yes,
Put one
yes, I
together.
mean, somebody else is doing the work for the county.
Okay.
Well, I make a motion to approve resolution 4022, 2022.
I'll second that.
Okay. Then a motion and a second to approve the resolution for participation in the SS4A grant application. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 You want me just to sign this copy of the
I
sheet?
got one right here.
Well, fine. This one's got a little place that tells me where to sign. Okay. Don't want you unhappy.
And did we need to sign the bid sheet for?
No, that was just one signature.
Okay, on the back it's showing.
Oh,
But
That's the next thing.
that's coming.
okay.
That's coming.
Not this thing.
Not yet.
Stay calm, sir. Relax. Okay. Did you? It's the west.
The next item on the agenda is the award of contract to replace the bridge on 280th Street, which is J53. Goes across Buchanan Creek. East of Vine Avenue. There's a photograph there. This bridge is 123 foot long, 22 foot wide, built in 1938, which makes it about 84 years old. Now, it's not in terrible shape. It does have a weight limit on it, but it's not going to be closed in a year or two. So you might ask, why are we replacing it? We're replacing it because it's narrow. It's probably impeding modern agricultural traffic on it. It's on a farm to market road in Buchanan Township. And then I've talked about this before, but between 1950 and 1965, 15 years, Page County built 45 bridges like this in in various places across the county. So that's three bridges a year. We are not rebuilding 3 bridges a year. So sometime all those 45 bridges are gonna go bad. And I want to be working on those before they all go bad at once. So we're picking up the bridges that are not disasters and getting them every now and then.
And then also before we put the hard
Yes,
surface on
yes.
before we do this.
We do want to do the bridge because we're raising the bridge a little bit and realigning the vertical approach. And so we want to build a bridge before we hard surface, before we stabilize the base with cement powder and put a hard surface on. So there's a sequence that matters.
Can you give us a brief summary of the funding stream on that expenditure?
It's the HBP money.
Okay.
So we have that funding available to us. It's coming from our funds solely. It doesn't have other money in it. We had 3 bidders. You have that on your, it's on the back side of the resolution. There, our estimate was 1.3 million. It's 1.455608, which is 10.6% over our estimate.
Where does United Contractors come from?
Des Moines. A big contractor. Gobertson Smith is the firm that built the bridge north of Shenandoah a couple of years ago over that east station. On
They did.
Hay Avenue.
They did a great job too.
Did a fine job.
They're out of Ida Grove.
Correct. Old Iowa construction company. They built Comanco too. That's part of the same family. Comanco pavers. So I request a motion to approve that contract.
I'll make the motion to approve the contract as requested. Godberson Smith Construction Company of Ida Grove for BRS swap 140 FF73.
I'll second that.
Okay, been a motion and a second to approve the contract award from Godfreyson Smith Construction for approximately 1.456 million to replace the bridge on 280th Street. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Then the final agenda item from the road department today is the resolution 41, 2022, that delegates signature authority to me from you for this specific bridge only.
Okay. Which we've done in the past, and it works.
Number of years, yes.
Okay,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second resolution 41, 2022.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Everybody sign this.
We've got a copy there.
Just Melissa, do you have them all?
You need to sign these. Okay, can I sign them? You want to sign this one and pass it back after Jacob signs it. That one goes back to Christine.
Thank you.
Okay,
Anything else for me?
anything else for JD? Okay, at this time, we've got 15 minutes for that, yep, okay. We've got scheduled for Shenandoah Hills Wind Project update from Page County Horizons.
Good evening. Mary Ann Gibson, landowner in Lincoln and Morton Townships. I have several questions for the board tonight, but before I start on those questions, I would like to make some general comments about my own personal thoughts on the process of the Shenandoah Hills wind energy application. Since the public hearing of June 30, 2022, and the issue of proposed turbines located within the recommended 3 kilometers of station KYFR came to light, my mind keeps coming back to the several concerns and observations about Invenergy's application and interaction with the Board of Supervisors who represent Page County, citizens of Page County, with the company doing business in Page County, Family Stations, KYFR, and toward a long-established public area of Page County, Wabash Trace. I feel that the process has been disrespectful of the community, evidenced by the quality of the application, which includes errors, omissions, and misrepresentations. I shall not go into these. They have been pointed out by several citizens who have made comments which you have heard over the past several months. As an administrator with over 30 years of experience in managing a nonprofit agency, I was in the position of developing and or supervising the development of well over 24 grant applications to local, state, and federal agencies. I also served on review committees for 6 grant processes. I can assure you that any grant application which would have been submitted with the quality of the one that you received from Invenergy for the Shenandoah Hills Wind Energy Project would have been eliminated from the competition. I am baffled how North America's largest independent, privately held, renewable energy company, which was valued in 2020 by Forbes magazine at $10 billion, could make such a presentation. Secondly, Invenergy has presented itself as wanting to partner with the community as it establishes itself as a business in our area. It is my opinion that the behaviors exhibited as it has approached several parts of the proposal don't give any credence to the concept of partnership. A good partner does not propose turbines within the highly sensitive radius of Family Stations, KYFR, and then not communicate with the company for several months until the issue was raised in a public hearing. KYFR broadcasts 24/7 to extensive areas of Iowa, Missouri, and Kansas, and has the potential to reach nearly 1 million listeners and provides a substantial service to listeners in the community. A good partner does not propose a turbine less than 1/4 mile from the Wabash Trace and then suggest that the trace is not a public area covered by the Page County Wind Energy Conservation System or Conversion System Ordinance. So those are my personal thoughts and opinions, and then I have some questions for the Board of Supervisors regarding compliance with various aspects of the county ordinance. My questions are these: who monitors the issues that are addressed in the proposal and that correlate to the ordinance? What county official or employee becomes responsible for the monitoring? The questions that I raised are not all inclusive by any means, but they are the ones that have come to mind as I study over the ordinance and Invenergy's proposal. Regarding signal interference, regarding telephone, radio, and television interference, the ordinance states that the owner-operator, which is Invenergy or a company to which they sell the project, receives a written complaint and takes reasonable steps to respond. My question is, what next if the issue isn't resolved? That's not spelled out in the ordinance. Have you thought about, or where would that issue go? Who would be responsible for dealing with that issue?
I think it's a big hole in the ordinance itself. It's a hole to me, there is a hole there.
Okay.
Who's gonna carry it out? We can't have rules without some way to carry it out, who's responsible?
Another issue is waste disposal. The ordinance says that solid and hazardous waste shall be removed in a time period established by local, state, and federal regulations. Does Page County currently have a time period established for these wastes? Who monitors compliance with something like that? Another issue are the issue of decibel levels. The proposal states that at non-participating residences, the turbine will not exceed 55 decibels under normal operating conditions. What recourse does the non-participating resident have in regard to violation of this issue? Where do they go with their problem? Who backs them up if there is a problem in that area?
The wording, and we brought this up, we talked about it over the last year or two, under normal operating conditions is also kind of, what's the point of having the 55 decibels?
Yeah.
If it's under normal, well, what if it's not normal, so they can do whatever they want?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the answers to those.
No, I don't think it's written well either, I agree.
Do you all? My last question has to do with the 180-day moratorium approved by the Board of Supervisors on March 29th, 2022, regarding the Board of Supervisors accepting any new application for wind energy conversion systems. Nearly 120 days of this moratorium has passed. There are approximately 2 months left of the moratorium. Has the Board of Supervisors begun the process to review or consider changes, additions, or addendums to the current ordinance? And what are your plans?
Hasn't been on the agenda yet.
So,
We've had discussion, yes, Marianne. Have we made any motions or any? No, not yet. You would know as well as everyone else if we had, so.
wait, is it going to happen soon, or do you know, or?
Don't have that answer for you today.
Okay.
You know, I'd say my next step would hopefully be at some point that we get to the point where we have approval from or disapproval from our legal counsel on the application of the ordinances that was presented. And then we're going to have to get to the point where we have a vote, and then we'll go to the next step. So I would say that until there's a vote, the moratorium could get extended. If we don't have time to do something before, or it could get discussed, it'll be up to the three of us to get it on the agenda.
Okay,
So
time's passing.
yes, it is. That's
Okay.
I'm not going to disagree with you, Marianne. It has been passing. Yes.
Kim Tudor. Excuse me. Back in September 1st, 2020, in the minutes, and I know it's been stated since then, but this was the only one I had a written copy of. I didn't go back and research all the minutes, but this one I did have, where Chuck challenged the group to find an active wind turbine project with setbacks further than what Page County has, and that they were tied to the property lines. Madison County does.
Yes, we're
The
very aware of that. Yeah, we studied that.
the challenge was to present one where there's active wind development to the property line. That Madison County became a moratorium at that point. They weren't developing with those setbacks to the property line. So that was a challenge.
Okay, but there was a project that Mid-America started in 17 there, which they just now ended due to conflicts of people wanting to back out, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess it depends on how you define an active project. They were active, they were signing contracts.
Yep.
They were working on it.
Yep, it would have been.
So that's what I take as active.
Okay.
And they've got since you're familiar with it, I'm sure you've read the other parts of this. They've really got some good information in here.
Yes, I read through it all, yes.
Very detailed, the ADLS lighting systems. It seems like they've really stretched out and tried to encompass everything. Disposal is not to be done within their county. They have to remove it. There's fines if they don't. I just think they've done a very comprehensive job on it, and, you know, would ask you to review that when you're having your discussions. And you said you have been discussing the ordinance.
We did way back at the moratorium time. We haven't on the floor since then, no. So it's not an agenda item, so.
Oh, no, not on an agenda item, but have you been talking it amongst yourselves
We
on
don't-
things to do?
Unfortunately, thanks to the rules, we don't have that ability to sit around and chat about these things, so.
Oh,
Pardon?
yeah, I thought you.
We did clear back at the very beginning, is what I said. You know,
Okay.
I apologize if my words don't always make sense to everybody's ears, but we
Well,
talked
that's why
about
we
it.
ask questions.
We talked about it clear back at the time of the moratorium, which was March 29th.
29.
Yeah, I believe is what Marianne said, and that's when we had quite a discussion that day about several things, and I'm not sure if it was at the next meeting. We had even went over some of the things again. I could find my notes later, but I don't have them right here in front of me.
One of many issues is the lights. It's a simple, very simple thing. We did talk about back then, but then I don't think they've even submitted the project yet, but that should have been, in my opinion, that should have been on there, at least that. If they can put those lights on, radar sensing lights, to stop the blinking, that should have been something simple, but
Yeah. I
at
think
that time,
And hopefully prevent anything like our unfortunate helicopter accident this week. That was pretty scary, and thank goodness he walked away from it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just worried as more and more things go up to the sky, more and more problems happen, so it is
That was
concerning.
about 30 foot off the ground, as I understand.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
And I know he was familiar with it. Accidents happen. I get accidents happen, but.
Yep.
Just want to prevent if we can.
Yep, no, good. Yes,
Review of the ordinance. Is there a possibility that you would consider a task force or a work group, including citizens, to work with you on the development of an ordinance? I mean, to me, that seems like a reasonable process. There are many people who have been reviewing, researching, studying the matter, looking at ordinances from, you know, around the country, other places in Iowa. And I think there would be people who would be willing to contribute time and energy toward the process.
I'd be open to recommendations, but, you know, ultimately the buck stops here, Mary Ann.
Absolutely.
And as you know, this is an extremely controversial topic. People on both sides are pretty passionate about it. And so the input is good. Yes, hearing those voices is good. But ultimately, this case, if we build or we don't build, there are going to be people unhappy. So we have to figure it out. I mean, we can't let the citizen committee totally write it without.
I'm not suggesting a
Okay.
citizens committee. I'm suggesting a committee with one or two board members on it, two
Yeah, that'd be fine.
or all three board members, you know, a working group to review, to look at, to study, to have input. I mean, it would seem to me it would be a several-month process. It's not going to happen overnight if it's done right. I mean, I'm aware that that is what has happened in several counties in Iowa. You know, ultimately, you're right, Chuck, the board does have the final vote of the yea or nay. But
So, and as you know, with 2 more months in the moratorium, we,
two,
2 more months left, not a whole lot of time
60
there.
days.
So,
I believe it should probably be extended with the time's going. I should put that on the agenda to extend it.
and I'll remind you that I voted against the moratorium because I'm very business, and this goes against the grain of what I think, what I believe on a moratorium. So hopefully, we can get some input in the next 2 months to adjust as needed, adjust the ordinance if that's what we need to do. But I won't vote for an extended moratorium, I'll just tell you that right now.
Well,
I'll take your
in
comment.
the essence of even safety or any conditions like that, where people live out there, wasn't very long ago, if safety was the highest matter, it voted for every issue, even had a slight chance of making safety happen now.
Well,
You
it's-
gotta
it's-
protect yourself before you go forward, and there's holes all over this thing. The ordinance has tons of holes.
Well, I would think that citizen input from the beginning would be
It's a good idea.
helpful for positive resolution at the end.
Okay, thank you. We've got a couple of more minutes in the 15-minute time slot. Anybody else? Okay. Next item up on the agenda is discuss, approve FEMA, the National Flood Insurance Program. And I passed that down. I think everybody did. Yeah. Okay. We've been a part of this FEMA thing for the last several years. We just need to remain in that, so we don't lose that availability if we do have an issue again, like the flooding back in whatever year that was, 18, I think. So, at this time, I would probably take as, acknowledgement that, we have a motion to approve this, program and continue with it.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any questions?
We didn't do this a few years ago in the
We-
shuffle when you came on the
We
board.
got into it.
And
We had to poll and talk to a few people. but-
and some good graces.
Yeah. So I think we should probably stay within that, because it did help us out there in 18. Okay, then a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Just one of us needs to sign, I take it. Next item up is to discuss, approve the semi-annual report for publication from Angie Dow, our treasurer.
I sent you all the
Yes.
report for publication, so I just have to come here twice a year and have the approval to publish it. I send you a few extra things that I don't publish, just showing that in office we are in balance.
So I make a motion to approve it as submitted.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't want to read through it all? Okay. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thanks, Angie, appreciate it. Next item is up is the discuss, approve the hazard mitigation grant resolution. Local match for the hazard mitigation assistance program.
Yeah, we had this on the agenda a couple of weeks ago, a little bit of confusion about what it meant. Brian Hammond, who's our associate or interim EMA director, says without this document, if we have any hazard mitigation either by the county or the municipalities within the county, we won't be eligible for FEMA unless this document and resolution is signed. So I would make a motion to approve it.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Have we had it signed before? Have we had?
Yeah.
Okay. Just needs to.
It may be in a slightly different form, but there's been a document. I don't think it's been in this resolution form before. New requirement.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to sign the hazard mitigation assistance program. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
I'll pass this down. And we can pass that back to Krista. Board communication.
I went up to Council Bluffs on Wednesday.
Yeah,
Good
the
meeting.
fourth, was that the juvenile?
Juvenile detention.
Okay,
And,
everything going okay with that?
everything's going fine. Of course, it's only staff. They talk a lot about staffing. Especially part-time people. That's the main discussion there was, just
What's the problem everywhere?
it's a problem everywhere. It's the same thing. And some siding issues, we're gonna fix some siding around the front of the building. So just,
Where's that located at, Council Bluffs, maybe?
I actually went to the building, this meeting, went and looked at it a little bit, and the siding is, I'm gonna tell you how to get there.
Is it down near like the Fourth Judicial, the other one? Like when you go to?
I've never been to that one.
You know what, it's all been
Oh,
virtual
it's-
since I took over for you. They've
It's a
been-
little ways
It's like,
east of Bass Pro Shop and north.
Can you
okay,
hear okay now?
So it's,
east and.
instead of
okay.
going, like if you go around the Bass Road and then Mid-America Center,
Okay,
you just go straight.
okay,
North.
okay. I've never been to that one. so.
I don't know the exact address, but it didn't look like I thought it was gonna look like. You know, I've been there, I went there, and there's more siding. It blended in more.
What's the address again?
I don't know the address off the top of my head. It looked different.
Okay. Okay.
The opioid
Yes,
grant money,
yeah.
you sent over
Yeah.
that
The
portal, 'cause
portal, yep.
back when that was being negotiated, Carl and the legal team said they didn't have time to deal with it, so I went to all those meetings and my name got on the portal. Anyway,
Yep.
I submitted our request for a check, and it'll be made out to Page County, it'll come to me, and then I'll deposit it with you. And I've reached out, and if you guys have some objections, I've kind of just jumped the gun on my own, so I might be in trouble, but I reached out to Page County Public Health, I saw their minutes from last week when they met, and I thought, the education part of this
Yeah,
is important, and they're a place where they might benefit from being the administrator on these funds. So as soon as I get some unless there's an objection.
Now, so they're gonna be in charge of how much spent, but is there only a specific thing they can be spent on?
Yeah, it's, the guidelines are really strict, and the reporting is going to be a pain, to be quite honest with you.
Was there any other way anybody else does it? Other than
Haven't talked, some counties are denying,
Just not taking it.
passing on to other counties. My other thought was the two hospitals do opioid education now currently with their physicians. That's a possibility, but I thought, well, if public health could administer it.
and that would help use some of their staff dollars if they're a little weak on, so.
That's kind of what I was saying.
That would be
unless
an
you had
excellent
objection.
way to,
Now, it may be when all the details come, I talked.
they may not be able to.
They may not be able
Yeah,
to do
right.
it.
Yeah.
But I think really they ought to have the first shot, and then if not, then we could, I think, reach out to our hospitals or, we've got Wabanzi Mental Health, we've got Zion Recovery, we have several agencies that might want to do that, but, it's not a lot of money, and there's a lot of red tape, so unless do you have an objection?
I think it's okay to start there.
Okay.
All right.
You have a very good report from public health, and it's very good.
Yeah.
Very good report.
Then the only other thing I was gonna report, I sent a letter of resignation to the governor's Empower Rural Iowa Task Force. The meetings and the commitment time get to be too much, and I've served on that since its inception. So I'll no longer be a part of that. And then one final thing, in relation to what we heard tonight from Page County Horizons, the proponent for wind, I'd like to have some communication from Allers and Cuddy this week to see where they're at in this study. And
I
I
haven't
very
heard
much,
anything. I haven't heard anything. So, okay. I'll send a note to Maria when I get home. See what's going on. So I kind of thought they would have something by yesterday.
They've had it 1 week. Basically, she's been back 1 week.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to dig through
Yeah.
and figure out.
But what we're paying, they should be.
Too fast. Yeah.
Okay. Minutes, everybody read through the minutes?
Yes.
July 19th.
Look good to me.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve it unless there's some other.
Second.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Jacob,
I'll motion we adjourn.
okay, I'll vote yes.